bullet journals. Everybody's starting them and taking pictures of them and posting them to Instagram and Pinterest. You feel like a loser because you don't have one. Or you feel like a winner because you do have one. Or you feel somewhere in the middle because you've tried it and failed. But what is a bullet journal? And should you start one? And are you doing it wrong? Wow. My hair hated that perler. Why don't you go? Yeah, right here? That's good. I have here a big stack of my journals that I've kept over the years. I kind of wanted to show you my evolution through journaling, both before and after finding the bullet journal. Because my journaling method, if you could call it that, before I found a bullet journal was strikingly similar to the bullet journal. And after keeping or attempting to keep bullet journals for a few years now, I have discovered that really the only thing that makes a journal a bullet journal, in my opinion, is having an index at the front so that you can keep track of what's in it. That is the one link that ties together all of the fancy spreads and beautiful decorative nonsense you see on Instagram and Pinterest. And I call it nonsense with love. I think it's beautiful. I love looking at people's really cool spreads. I ain't got time for that. In my opinion, there's no wrong way to bullet journal. Whatever works for you, you can get ideas on Pinterest, but if you are feeling pressure trying to stick to a certain format, then just don't. This is my current bullet journal, and the way I've got it set up now, I've got my index in the front. For this bullet journal, I am using the recommended book that the original bullet journal creator, designer, what have you recommends, and that is the Leuchtturm 1917 5A. I'm sure I said that wrong. I don't know how to say this word. It's not English. The way I've basically got it set up is my index, I bold the months so that I know what's going on, and then I've got these printable calendars that I tape in with washi tape, and I've just kind of got like notes and spreads and whatever I want in there. Here's my January. This bullet journal, I've been trying a lot more fancy stuff, but I want to show you how unfancy it has been for a long time. Here is a journal that I was keeping in 2010. It is pretty similar to the way I still journal today, and that is just writing stuff down. What I used to do is I used to set up a whole bunch of calendars at the beginning of my books. That was probably the most frustrating part of journaling for me, the way I used to do it. Bullet journals, basically anytime you have a new idea or a new month starts, you just turn to the next blank page and start fresh. You don't try to set up chunks of pages that are dedicated to certain things, and you log it all in your index so that if you need to find any of that stuff, you can go back to it easily. Woo! Just kick the camera. So that was one of the hardest parts journaling the way I used to journal, is my notes would be all over the place. I would start blank pages with new ideas, but I didn't actually think to log them or like make a notation of where they were in the book. So here's like hoop workshop notes, notes on chats I had with people, health ideas, directions to places, notes to myself on what to do, contact information, various things I felt were important and worth writing down, or like this was when I was knitting something and trying to keep the pattern together. I have no idea what this was, but it was apparently Scott Pilgrim related things. I've got to pee on her. Pokemon, and trying to figure out how to get all of the starter monkey Pokemon by me and my wife swapping back and forth and restarting our games a lot of times. That sort of thing. Travel checklists, going to Burns and just making sure I had all the things. This was something I came back to a lot. I kept all of my travel checklists so that I could make new ones based on the old ones, what worked, what I wish I had had. So yeah, this is just a little Moleskine, the one subject kind. For a while I had like several that I had clipped together with binder clips so that I could have like a different subject for each one, and that was an idea my friend had given me, and that was really fun. But then there were some books that I was filling up way faster than others. It like stressed me out having some books I used more than others. I don't know. Here's another example of a book that I tried to turn into a planner by filling it all out ahead of time. I was gonna like do all these calendars ahead of time and then keep like the week and then a blank page, the week and then a blank page. You can see how much I actually wrote in this. Eventually I just told myself, this is no longer a planner, it's just a journal for journaling, and I attempted to just kind of do my normal journal thing, like here's budgeting, here's directions to a place, here's nothing, because that idea didn't work for very long because I hated having to work around the lines and all the nonsense I'd already put in this book. This is just a regular notebook that I got, I think it was like a quarter at Walmart, and I really liked how floppy it was and I liked the color, and I just picked it up. I tried doing morning pages for a while, which is something I did because of the artist's way. Basically, you wake up first thing in the morning and you just free write 3 pages. But this book also turned into notes. I'm not entirely sure. Oh, this was tracking how many bottle caps we had because I wanted to do a bottle cap project. Directions to places. Going to a vending show and keeping track of how many hoops I needed. A prep checklist for that vending show. A crochet pattern that I had designed. Video ideas. Just, this was when I was doing Vita for the first time. This is just to give you an idea of how I was essentially bullet journaling before I was ever bullet journaling, and the kind of things that I put in my journals. Just whatever I feel like I need to remember or whatever I need in front of me at the time. I really wasn't doing many to-do lists back then, and I still don't do many to-do lists today. I pretty much just do a to-do list if it's a day when I know I've got a lot of stuff that I need to do. This is another one where I attempted to set up the planner before even using the book. This was when I was getting married, and I, wrote down a lot of wedding ideas and guest lists, directions, and then a bunch of blank pages because I didn't finish the book. For a while, when I was working from home doing hoops, I just had a little fat cheapo notebook from the grocery store. Most of the stuff that was in here was hoop making notes. So hoops I needed to cut and the sizes, tape I needed to order, grocery list. Somewhere in here I also know that I have like notes that I took when I was watching business webinars. Here's a look, and it's an actual to-do list, and it looks like I didn't finish very much of it. One thing I also hope that you're noticing about these journals, they're not very pretty at all. Visually interesting journals are the least of my concerns when it comes to the way I journal and the way I utilize the bullet journal system. Alright, and now we get to this book! It was my first attempt at bullet journaling, and in this one I was the most faithful to the way Ryder, the original bullet journal creator, suggests that you set up your bullet journal. I quickly stopped doing that later. Here we've got our index. Here was my future log. If you go to the bulletjournal.com website, it'll walk you through what all of this is and what all of this means. Future planning is a thing that a lot of people struggle with their bullet journal. So the future log is supposed to be a way to combat that. You just kind of block out general blocks for the months coming ahead in the beginning, and you write down what's coming up, and then when it actually comes up, you set up your month spread and you fill in everything from your future log. I didn't really like that system, so I'll show you when we get to my current bullet journal how I do that now. So here is the way Ryder suggests you set up your monthly spread with the addition of a habit tracker. I have found I don't really like habit trackers. They stress me out more than they help me track my habits. You know, set up your month all horizontally, all vertically along the side of your page, and then you have like your goals and tasks for the month over here, and then your to-do lists with all of the recommended bullet journal symbols, like an X if you do it, an exclamation mark if it's important, arrow if you need to move it to the next day. But most of my journal from there is kind of the same. Oh, here's another to-do list page. It's kind of the same way I've always journaled. It's just that I would, every time I wrote down directions to somewhere, I would put it on the same spread. There's also a system in bullet journal called threading. Say I had directions later in the book. I would write down here, page 29. Next to it, I would write whatever page the directions continue on, so I could flip to that page and keep going with the directions spread. Does that make sense? I'll show. I've got threading in a different journal I can show you better. But eventually I didn't like how hard it was to do future planning, and there were things I didn't enjoy about it, so I gave up on it. Oh my gosh, there's a whole book I totally forgot to include in here. Hold on. So this is my Leonie Dawson planner from 2016. I have another video where I talk about her workbooks in a little more detail, and I was like, I love everything about this planner. I'm gonna use it all year, and I won't ever want for a planner again. At the beginning of every month, there was like breakdowns where you could ask yourself questions about how it was going, and then the calendar page at the beginning of the month. Questions you wanted to ask yourself, goals you wanted to set. I used this book pretty religiously through, I want to say, the middle of March is when I kind of gave up on it. Yeah, here we are in the middle of March, and it's pretty empty from here on out because I got bored of having the exact same planner, and that's when I was like, I should bullet journal again, because by bullet journaling you can try out different things, see what works for you, see what you want to keep going with, or just blow it all up and start over. So here is my new bullet journal. Here's my index. You know what I think really prompted me to just pick it back up was that I found these calendar printables. I'm going to show you my current one and how I do it now. It makes future planning so much easier. What I've got is I've printed out all these calendar printables, and I've got a little clip right here. I've got calendar pages for the whole year here in the back of the journal clipped in. I can just go and write in any future stuff that's coming up, and then when it's actually time for the month to start, I just tape it into the journal and go. I like having a nice full page block calendar to look at rather than the little horizontal dates. There are so many printables for bullet journals if you are lazy and don't like handwriting in the calendar like I do. So yay, printables! So I just started doing what I always do with journals. This was a thing that I made myself, trying it out. I didn't stick with it, but like tracking when I had to sleep and when I had to work so that I would know what time I needed to go to bed in order to get enough sleep. Basically everything you've seen in all of my other journals, just a little bit more organized. Page numbers that I wrote in myself. I also got washi tape. This was the first time I got washi tape and decided to play with it. I found an article someone did about how they kind of use their bullet journal as a scrapbook as well, so if there's something they want to keep in the bullet journal, they'll just tape it in with washi tape so that it looks pretty, but you don't have to be an artist. So let me show you an example of threading. With my budgeting, I have the most threads, so I'll just show you my budgeting. That starts on page 136. Here I started just taking some budgeting notes. Here you'll see at the bottom, I've got page 136 is where we are. There's more on page 9 and also on page 142. So I know if I flip to page 142, here's more budgeting info. And then I've got a reminder that 136 is where I started and it's going over to 169. Here we are on page 169, more budgeting info, and it's a lot easier to find than when all those years before and I'd be like, I know I took notes on this. I know it's in a journal somewhere. Is it this journal? Flip, 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 flip. Is it this journal? Flip, 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 flip. For me, the index feature, the numbered pages and the threading, and now the printable calendars are the best part of the journal. As I was going along with this journal, I realized that one thing I missed from my Leone planner was the asking yourself questions. If you Pinterest bullet journal, you'll find something called Level 10 Life that a lot of people have spreads for, and that's basically like assessing 10 aspects of your life and assigning them a level, and your goal is to be at level 10 in all of them. I decided to take those life aspect headers and set goals. Here I kind of just quickly jotted it out on one page and then set weekly goals across the page. What I want you to look at here is how this idea evolves and how you could take an idea that you might have and evolve it over time in your journal so that you don't have to feel pressure to get it right away. It's your journal. Do whatever the frig you want. So this was August. I decided to try it. At the end of August, I decided to ask myself questions about how the month went, kind of like my Leone planner had done. And then over here, I got my calendar and then I got my weekly goals. And then on the next page, I've got my level 10 life stuff, but I gave myself a lot more room to think about everything. Here we get to the end of September, and you can see I'm trying to like make it a little more clear. I just kind of went over my pen writing with highlighter, and that helped everything stand out to me without having to focus on like hand lettering or being super fancy. And then my level 10 I did before I started the new month. What's most important to me, da 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 da. And then here's the new month, my calendar, my goals. Well, bam! That's a good example of how, you know, you can evolve an idea. And I'm not currently doing that anymore with my current journal because I found that I was writing down kind of the same goals over and over and I just wasn't really into it. In this journal, I decided to get the dotted instead of going with the Moleskine. The Luke term #1 is a little bit wider, and also the dots make it easier if you want to do stuff. You can do stuff like this, vertical spreads, without it getting all crazy and hard to work with. I tried to do a similar spread to this in the Moleskine. You can see that like the lines just kind of get in the way of keeping everything nice, and it's much easier to look at something like this. The other nice thing about the look term is that the pages are already numbered for you, and it's got predefined index pages, so you don't have to do a lot of work if you don't enjoy numbering pages by hand. But the beauty of the bullet journal system is you can do it in any journal. I've just decided that this actually is the best journal for bullet journaling. What did we learn here, if anything? One, all a bullet journal really is a journal with an index and page numbers, and you start each idea fresh on a new spread. Number two, you can put whatever you want in your journal, whatever you want to track, whatever you want to keep notes about, whatever is important for you to remember. That's why I use it, is I have a hard time remembering things. And number three, you don't have to have any artistic talent whatsoever. You can print out calendar pages like I do, and there are tons of their habit tracker printables if you want to do a habit tracker. And I will link the website that I get my calendar pages from, just in case you want to use them. In conclusion, I would say if you want to start a bullet journal, don't take it very seriously. Just jump in and start trying it out. Read the bullet journal website, get an idea of what Ryder was kind of going for with the original system. Go on Pinterest and go crazy pinning bullet journal ideas. Try whatever sounds interesting to you and let it evolve over time. I hope that this was interesting and helpful. If you have any questions about my bullet journal system or bullet journaling in general, leave them in the comments, please. I like getting comments. My name is Jess, and I make videos weekly about who knows what, and I post them on who knows what day, but you will see a video from me every week. Every week! I don't know what that was. I'm sorry. I don't know if there's anything else I say at the end of the video. This video is probably really long and gonna be a pain to edit anyway. I'll see you next time I make a video.